Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Two Dudes Talking 80s. My name's John. That's my best friend over there, Lewis. Lewis, say hello.
Hello.
Good call. Way to respond appropriately. So just before we get started on some 80s topics, just a little bit about ourselves. I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I actually attended Burrell Middle School and Hillsdale High School. Lewis and I have known each other since the sixth grade. We attended Burrell Middle School together. He actually attended a different high school than I did, but we would always see each other occasionally, usually because he worked at Round Table Pizza at the Hillsdale Mall. And, so we always kept in touch and then rekindled our friendship after high school. And we've basically been the best of friends ever since. So it's a little bit about us, a little bit about my history. And I also did play in a heavy metal band back in the 80s and continued into the 90s as well. So Lou, why don't you go tell them a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Louis Betancourt, and as John mentioned, we've known each other since the sixth grade, as many people at dance clubs after I've had a few drinks can attest to, because that's a fact that I tend to sort of blurt out for people to know, just for their general knowledge. I was also born and raised in the Bay Area, and as John mentioned, went to different high school, Aragon High School. Yeah, John and I have been the best of friends for many, many years, and lived a good part of the 80s out together. So very appropriate for us to be doing these conversations together.
Absolutely. So the idea of this is just we want to just talk about everything that we enjoyed in the 80s, maybe some of the things we didn't enjoy in the 80s, but pick a topic, talk about it, get each other's perspectives on it. And it was the greatest decade by far. And we love reliving it and talking about it. And we figured, if nothing else, this would be a great way to record and remember these conversations down the line as we get closer to those years where we forget everything, which is already happening. So it's nice to get some of this recorded for our own personal benefit. And if anybody that wondered what it was like in the 80s or want to reminisce, we lived through it. We both graduated high school in 1986. Yes, 1986. So we were there for it, and we want to talk about it. Lou, anything you want to add in that regard?
No, other than I agree, it was absolutely an awesome decade to be in. I really wish that there was some way to at least temporarily teleport ourselves back into some of those years to re-experience that. One of the frustrations that I have is I really wish the memories were crisper than they are. Had a lot of good times.
Well, hopefully doing this will bring back some of those memories and we'll be able to reminisce, and probably I'll remember things that you didn't and vice versa. And also for those that are interested, that very 80s theme song that started this podcast was actually written and composed by Lewis, who's a very talented keyboardist, guitar player, plays a little bit of drums. Any other hidden talents we don't know about or we didn't discuss?
The kazoo.
You play the kazoo.
We both play the kazoo.
We both play the I do remember trying to play Iron Man on a kazoo. Where did we get those kazoos? I don't remember that.
I think it was one of the drunken debauchery bus trips somewhere. I honestly don't remember.
And how we ended up with kazoos, I'll never know. But for this, first episode, we were thinking, what can we talk about? What is very 80s that we can talk about and that we both love dearly? And so for the first episode, we thought we would talk about one of the all-time great movies. And I'm disappointed you're not wearing the shirt that I got you. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Anybody that's seen that movie knows what a classic it is. It's launched a bunch of people into the movie stratosphere. I think that was Nicolas Cage's first movie, even though you don't see him very much in that movie. What do you remember about going to see Fast Times at Ridgemont High back in the day?
Breasts.
All right.
I think it was one of the first movies that I saw naked breasts in, and I just remember sort of going, "Oh wow." It was it's either that or Porky's.
And you've been hooked ever since. That's good to know. It was that incredible plot point that you missed. For those that haven't seen the movie, it is probably most famous for Phoebe Cates, and Brad Hamilton's having this image of Phoebe Cates' character coming out. He's visualizing her coming out of the water, and she comes out in a red bikini and looks amazing, and promptly removes her top. And for those that didn't have to suffer through the VHS years, anytime you rented that damn movie, when it got to that part, you could tell that rental had been paused like 80 million times, because it all of a sudden the quality went to what. You could, it's like, how many times was somebody pause on this thing? Again, what people don't understand that we had to endure and suffer through.
You know, John, right before we got on to this meeting, I have to admit, I watched it to sort of do some homework and refresh my memory of what was happening. One of the things I found very bizarre about that scene is that what is the character's Bradley. So he's in the bathroom, sort of pleasing himself and imagining being with Phoebe Cates. And what I thought was really weird that I hadn't caught before is that in his fantasy, she's coming out, she takes off her top, but he's fully clothed in a suit. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem to be the kind of fantasy that excuse me, letting the dog out. Come on, go. That doesn't seem to jive.
Well, they don't. Wasn't he in his work outfit where he was still acting as the pirate?
Absolutely, he was. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Go
so
ahead and
that
finish.
yeah, so that was his outfit, but that was definitely. I think they named it like the most famous nude scene in movie history. So God bless Phoebe Cates. And a couple years back, that house, the Hamilton house, as shown in the movie, where she comes out of the pool, was actually up for sale. And I want to say I saw the photos of it, and the kitchen looked very dated. And I think it was selling for about 750,000. And I begged you, let's go in halves on this. Let's buy this thing. And then I found out Phoebe Cates didn't come with it, and kind of lost a little bit of interest. But man, I would love to have owned that house. Such a historic house.
Definitely a lot of nostalgia tied to it, and yeah, big time. I mean, Fast Times from at Ridgemont High is definitely an iconic movie, and to have a bit of that, especially that home, would be pretty unreal.
So the funny thing for me is, it's like that was like Sean Penn's first real performance, and I don't remember him in anything after that where he was ever funny, and he's so funny in that movie. He is the icon of that movie, other than Phoebe Cates is seen, but everyone remembers the character of Jeff Spicoli. He was hysterical in it, and I don't recall him ever doing anything else with any sort of humor. And he doesn't exactly seem like the guy you'd want to hang out and have a beer with, that's for sure.
There is one movie that I saw maybe 4 or 5 years ago where Sean Penn plays this sort of has-been rock star, where he does actually play a comedic role. Other than that, I can't think of any other one. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the title with the magic of the internet. Let me see if I can find it here.
Well, one of the things I read, and I don't know if this is true or not, it is, you read these things on the internet, but apparently Nicolas Cage was supposed to have a much bigger role in that movie, but at the time he was only 17. So you can see him in the background. And another interesting tidbit I found out, whether it's true or not, but the director of the movie, Martha Coolidge, actually says that scene where they're coming out of the van at the dance, Spicoli and his buddies, which included Eric Stoltz, they were actually smoking weed in that scene for real. And when they come out, they were actually, they had been smoking weed. I don't know how much character acting that is, but I guess it helped. It worked.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know that. And you're right, Nicolas Cage. I think, let me see. He was actually considered for another part in that. Yeah, he's supposed to play Brad, according to this.
Brad, that's right.
This what I'm seeing here on one of these websites. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And he played. If you didn't really look for him, you'd miss him.
Yeah, he's in there, and they said Jennifer Jason Leigh. She actually was. I don't know if it was to get in character or if this was just a side job, but the place she worked in the movie was a real place, Perry's Pizza, and she actually worked there prior to filming. Again, these actors really get in their role, like how difficult it was to figure out, how to deliver a pizza to a customer. But hey, let's go the extra mile. I guess that's what they do. That's why they're successful in acting. And you and I were only in a middle school play together.
Forgotten about that, but that's true. That's absolutely true. Trying to remember the name of the play. Oh, that's asking too much of me.
I don't remember. You were a student. I played the principal. They wrote a special role for me because I was special. I don't know. They saw some star quality and they said this guy needs a special role that doesn't even exist in the play. So, it's good times. But yeah, getting back to Fast Times. Arthur Spicoli, who we all loved. Everyone wanted to be Spicoli. I remember seeing that movie in the theater a bunch of times. I actually remember going to see it before, like the day before one of the, I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was like freshman, sophomore year in high school, but going to see it the day before school started. I'd already seen it, but I went and saw it again. Is there any other character other than Spicoli that really resonated with you, or any part of the movie other than Phoebe Cates as top, magically disappearing that really resonated with you?
I like Damone because he was, I don't know, he had a sleaze factor to him, and there really wasn't that much in that movie that was like that. He like filled that gap. I'm actually wearing my Damone hat, sort of in tribute
In
to him.
tribute? You don't have the keyboard tie?
Yeah, it was actually a handkerchief, not a handkerchief. It was a scarf. It was a
Okay.
scarf. Yeah, yeah. I thought it was a tie too, but it's like, oh no, it's actually a scarf. But yeah, and one of the things that I just sort of switching gears a little bit, that I really, really love about the movie is it just captures so much nostalgia. Even just, the beginning part of it where you see all the different video games and from back in the day, and they zoom across like a bunch of different women's butts wearing like different jeans, different brands and stuff, and Sassoon and Dittos and whatever else.
DoorDash.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really is a huge time capsule. I noticed this time around when I was watching it that when they're all signing in to go into high school, they're all holding their Peaches folders and stuff, and it's just got a lot of little things like that they're really, really cool to go back and go, yeah, that's right, that's how it was, and I had one of those too.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job of it, really capturing that era at a time, at the time that all that stuff was pretty much normal that we saw. I don't know if I liked his character that much, but I think probably the character I sadly related to the most was Mark Ratner's character, where he tried so hard to be the good guy and he wanted to find true love, and he thought that was out there for him with Stacy. And I always felt really bad for him, though I felt like at the end it kind of gave you a little bit of a glimpse of maybe he was going to just be okay, and he was going to get the girl of his dreams, and he and Stacy were going to end up together, and gave you a little bit of hope, even though at the end they tell you what everyone kind of went and did down the line, which some of it was obviously for comedic value, but that was one of the things I really appreciated about the movie. I always looked, I was like, oh, that's the guy that I wanted to see succeed, and like I said, sadly, it felt probably the most similar to who I was at that time as well.
I was reading a bit of trivia on this just before we logged on to this meeting, and apparently that was based on a real person. And that real person went on to be the author of all those blah, blah, blah for dummies. So Windows
Oh
for
yeah.
Dummies. And yeah, yeah. So apparently he became very, very successful, which I thought was neat. I didn't know about that before.
That's very cool. So he succeeded in the movie. He succeeded in real life. So
Indeed.
that's
Win-win.
it gives you somebody hope. Gives a person hope. Now we've discussed this in the past, and it completely didn't resonate with you. But I'm gonna revisit it. Now you've watched the movie more recently. So one of the things that always bugged me about the movie, and we've talked about this, is the whole time, every time Phoebe Cates is talking about this boyfriend, this boyfriend, this boyfriend, there's that discussion with how long he lasts in bed, and Jennifer Jason Leigh's character Stacy goes, "Wait a sec, I thought you said he lasts." Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. So she never really, seems to be that straight up about this boyfriend, and then magically here comes the prom, and he's not there. So I always wondered if that boyfriend even really existed, or if this was just something that she was talking about, like my girlfriend's a model in Canada kind of thing, where it didn't really exist. I mean, obviously, look at her; she's a knockout. I'd find that hard to believe, but it was always strange that you never saw the boyfriend. She was inconsistent with statements about him, and I always wondered, throughout the movie, was that guy for real, or was she just making him up?
Yeah, it's one of those questions. I think that unfortunately it's sort of like the girlfriend character in Forrest Gump, where you never really knew when she died from. It's the same kind of thing. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that remains open-ended, and I can totally see where you would see that, right? Especially when um there's that sort of ambiguity on gee, how long he lasted or whatever, that it can lend that is a very plausible explanation for that, because it casts doubt if the person even existed.
You really just had to work in ambiguity, didn't you?
I
That was
had
your
to.
goal this whole time. Like, how am I going to throw ambiguity in it? By the way, I do think in regards to Forrest Gump, I think the director did come out and say yes, she died of AIDS, which is what most people thought when they saw the movie. So that's a different topic. And but one of the things we will talk about is, for years there was something in the Karate Kid that always bugged me. And when we talk about Karate Kid in a future episode, you'll have to remind me about that, because that was something that always bugged me. I never found out the answer to it, and I actually saw William Zabka years ago before the success of Cobra Kai coming back, and I asked him about it, and he gave me an answer, and finally was able to fill that hole. So if any of you were like me and had a Cobra Kai mystery, I don't want to give it away, but I do have an answer to that one. But anyway, what are your final thoughts on Fast Times? By the way, apparently the scene between Stacy and Damone was originally going to also show male nudity. They were going to show Damone and his little Damone, and I'm guessing. I mean, I figure it's not bigger than him. But it was actually recorded and filmed. And I think they said something like they were concerned it would give it an X rating or something. And so, again, another little interesting tidbit. And by the way, Amy Heckerling, thank you, thank you, thank you, because the other story is Phoebe Cates wanted to back out of her topless scene and she talked her into it because that was one of the requirements for that movie. So thank you for doing God's work in that regard. Final thoughts on good old Fast Times.
Yeah, just a couple of little bits of trivia that I gathered here. The girl in the Corvette that pulls up to Brad when he's going to deliver all of the fish sticks or whatever it is to the IBM corporate guys. Do you know who that ended up being? Who the real person is?
Yeah, that's Nancy Wilson from Heart. I knew it back in the day.
I did not know that.
She ended up marrying the writer Cameron Crowe.
Didn't know that either.
All right.
The other thing
tell me, let's go.
The other thing I wanted to point out, and this was pointed out to me way back when, and it's just something I remembered again as I was watching it, is that Damone's advice is to play, I think it's side A at Led Zeppelin 4. That's the romantic.
Not what they played.
That's not what they played. They played Kashmir, which is, I don't know what album that's off of, but it's definitely not.
I want to say it's Led Zeppelin 3. I noticed that in the movie too, because I was a big Zeppelin fan at the time, and I'm like, well, wait a sec, that's had nothing to do with Led Zeppelin 4, because Led Zeppelin 4 actually had Stairway to Heaven on side A.
That's right.
Black Dog, Rock and Roll, and I forget the third song, and Stairway to Heaven was on it.
Yep.
A little bit of trivia, which you didn't know until just recently, is they actually did do a Fast Times at Ridgemont High TV series, and I guess it was god awful. I remember watching it back in the day, but I actually found a couple old episodes on YouTube and sent them to you, or at least sent one to you. And I think the season only lasted like 7 episodes. And Patrick Dempsey, who obviously went on to Can't Buy Me Love and what is that, Grey's Anatomy, was in the TV show. And I think Courtney Thorne Smith, who did a lot of 80s movies later on, and also did 2.5 Men and other things, Melrose Place, I think she was in, was on the TV show. So what do you think of that, watching that?
I didn't even, well, the episodes, that was interesting. It was neat to pick out people that I recognized that had gone off to other things. It was very, I think I mentioned this, sacrilegious to me that somebody else was playing the Spicoli character. It's just like, I couldn't buy it. I just couldn't buy it. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to go back and see the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, I don't think they exist anywhere on any streaming service. There's like a couple people have put up on YouTube, and that's it. Like I said, I don't know if they filmed more than those 7 episodes, but 7 episodes were all that aired. And I remember being super excited about, like, oh yeah, we're gonna get a Fast Times TV show, and then watching, going, what the hell is this? So it didn't do it for me back in the day. I'm sure it won't do it for me now. Do you have a favorite scene in the movie other than Phoebe Cates, which you've brought up like 20 times during this conversation?
There's a lot of scenes I really like in the movie. One of the ones that immediately comes to mind is where Spicoli is driving the Z28 with the main character, or one of the football characters' younger brother. I can't remember. There you go. I couldn't remember the name of the actor. That was priceless to me. I thought that was just hilarious. And the whole scene where they had the crash and he's all like looking at the car. Oh, I can fix it. My dad's like a TV repairman. He's got all kinds of awesome tools. Yeah, that's definitely one of those scenes I like. What about you?
There's a lot of scenes that I really enjoyed. For me, it was always the scene in the classroom with the pizza. I mean, what kid our age did not want to pull that one off? We saw that and it's like, oh my God, that would be so cool to do. And I know I wanted to do it so badly. I don't even know if you could have done it, to be honest, back in those days. But yeah, I think the pizza scene was great. And then, Spicoli gets his comeuppance when, Mr. Hand goes ahead and basically gives out, his pizza to all the other students, and as Spicoli looks on with absolute horror that there goes his pizza. It was pretty hysterical to me. And I don't know if it was that scene or another scene, but props to one of the background extras for wearing the coolest Michael Schenker Group shirt. Every time I see that scene, I'm like, God dang it, I want that shirt because it's badass. So that was something else I noticed. So go back and watch this.
I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
No, go back, watch that scene, and you're gonna see the guy with the Michael Schenker Group shirt, and it's like, oh man, that's cool. I want that shirt.
I'm gonna have to go back and see that because I've never noticed that.
You've never noticed it? Okay, it's one of the classroom scenes with Spicoli in it. It might be the pizza scene. The one thing I was gonna ask you, to this day, I read something about it, but I've never understood it. When they all smell the test, did you ever? I don't remember anyone ever doing that.
Oh, I totally did. It was something with the copiers or whatever it was that the paper had this weird smell to it, and I completely remember that. Yes,
But
absolutely.
you sniffed your test.
I sniffed my test, baby.
That's probably why you don't remember anything that happened in the 80s now. A little too much test sniffing, but okay. I never did that. I never saw anyone do that.
Yeah.
It must have been an Aragon thing. You know, we were at Hillsdale. We were much classier people there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I think we've depleted all our knowledge on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Anything you want to add, or you feel good?
No, I'm good, man. This has been fun, and yeah, awesome.
All right. So we got a whole list of things that we're going to be talking about in the future. Our next episode, we're actually going to talk about favorite concerts of the 80s that we actually attended. So there are a lot of concerts that I went to. Lewis, not so much, but we did go. You know, there were a lot of concerts back in those days and some great times. And we'll talk about where we saw these people, what venues, and of course, both of us we're pretty much into the hard rock, heavy metal scene. So something tells me it's going to be skewered very much that way. So it should be fun. Lou, thank you for doing this, brother. Always a pleasure. So it's nice to kind of do this, and first one's in the books.
Awesome, man. Thank you for the idea. I thought this was a great idea, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, in the future, maybe we can get some of the other people that survived the 80s as we did to join in and give some of their memories and talk a little bit more about it. So I think with that, we'll sign off. So thank you guys for watching the inaugural episode of Two Dudes Talking 80s. Take care.
Peace.